If you're looking for all the answers, I still don't have them, but what I do have is a particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people who mislead, misinform, or misrepresent the sports card industry. So if you don't do that, I'll let it go. But if you do, as always, I'm going to talk about you. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Sports Card Investigator. My name is Andy and I am the aforementioned Sports Card Investigator, and so happy to have you guys back again. Beautiful Sunday afternoon in the outskirts of Philadelphia. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk to you about a card that I have in my possession that kind of had a really interesting journey. And I think sometimes we learn about cards in different ways. We talk to people, we do our own research. Sometimes it just falls into our lap and we kind of go down the rabbit hole when we get a specific or particular card. So that's what I'm going to talk about to you guys today. A card that I have in my possession, and I am really, really happy to have it. And it's one of my favorite cards, favorite newer cards. So back a long time ago, back in 1996, 1997, there was a set called Skybox EX-2000 basketball set. It was made up of base and parallels, had 80 base cards in it, 82 if you count the checklist, and it had some top players that were available at the time, including the great Michael Jordan. But the main draw of this set was the rookie class. And the rookie class had guys like Ray Allen, Allen Iverson, Stephon Marbury, and of course, the one and only, the beloved Kobe Bryant. There was one guy who was missing from the set, which is interesting, Steve Nash. He was one of the only high-profile rookies that at the time was not in this set. Also, interestingly enough, it did have one parallel in the set, and it was numbered to 499 called Credentials. And those right now, if you go on eBay and look like for Kobe Bryant Credentials to 499 on Skybox, ridiculous, several $100,000 the prices of those cards. So they had in the set, they had different, the variations. They had a thing called a cut above, which was like a die cut. It was a 10 card insert. They had these things called autographics, were like autograph cards. They had a thing called net assets. Why is that hard to say? One per box. It was a 20 card set. It kind of looked like a basketball net. It was die cut. And lastly, and the card that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today was a card, the Stardate 2000. And if you guys have ever seen this card, it's a really, really cool looking card. You'll see it in a second. I'm going to put up on the screen, but it's a really cool card. It featured the top 15 players from that rookie class, to include Kobe Bryant, and they're the most common of their inserts. There are 1 in 9 packs of the Skybox cards. Now, the 1996 Skybox EX-2000 basketball hobby boxes, it consisted of 24 packs per box, but only 2 cards per pack. So the card that we're talking about today is the Kobe Bryant EX-2000 Stardate. Not the rarest card in the world, which had me thinking of why is the value so high and why has it taken off so much. There were 15 of these EX-2000 rookie inserts, 1 in 9 packs. So we can deduce from that math that there are 2 or 3 inserts per box, and the Kobe, if math held, would be 1 in about 135 packs, or 1 in 7 boxes. Not easy to find, but not incredibly difficult, and they are regularly posted raw and graded on eBay, but not as many as you would think, but they're there. And if my math is wrong, then I'm counting on one of you guys to tell me I am wrong, but I think I'm pretty close. I watched a couple of recordings of breaks from this specific box just to see what they were pulling. There was one back in February 2018 for vintage cards. The spots back then were $65 a pack. 2 cards in a pack, which back then was probably like, whoa, that's crazy, right? But your chance to get a Kobe insert, was there. So people were taking their chances. Now, in this particular one, 2 Stephon Marbury Stardate were pulled. So I thought that was kind of funny, right? Of all the cards, you get a Stephon Marbury, who at the time looked like he had a great career, and actually he did overseas. Sealed boxes of this set, you can go on eBay and they're listed. I found 2. One was for $25,000 and one was for $49,000 respectively. So why am I telling you this? What do you care about Skybox 1996, right? What is the meaning of this, Andy? What are you dragging us through? Where's the payoff? Well, back in April 2020, about a year ago, I visited my local card store, and I do that probably once a month, once every other month, as much as I can, because let me tell you something. These card store guys, they know a lot. Because they're dealing with all the products. They have guys coming in all the time. Obviously, it's their livelihood. And I've learned a lot from my local card guy. So if you have a chance, you have a little store that you go into and you get to talk to these guys behind the counter. And I'm lucky enough to talk to the owner because he's been around there for a long time and just a wealth of information. So I went in and we were just talking and, BSing, and I always look at his stuff. And if there's something I can buy or give him some business, I always do. And it's very important, I think, to support your local card store, especially in this day and time, right? And I was looking, and he's got a couple showcases, and I go through it. And this card, this Kobe Bryant Stardate, caught my eye. It's a really pretty card. I didn't know much about it, because, it was a 1996 card. I knew it was his rookie year. And I haven't really seen that card that much. So I was talking to him about it. We're going back and forth. And he had the price on it marked of $100. So, of course, I'm looking at my phone, looking at the comps to see how close he is. And he was pretty much on the money. And I asked him, I said, hey, what's the best price? I'm definitely interested. And he always gives me a break. And I think he sold it to me for $80. And I said, that's terrific. I took it and went back home, gave it a once-over, started researching the card as best I can, and looking at this card. You're probably looking at the exact card now. It's a tough card to grade. The surface is made up of, it's a different type of surface. The corners are pretty easy to see, but it's not the easiest card as far as centering and everything else. And anyway, I was getting an economy submission for PSA at the time. And I was going to put him in along with some Lamar Jackson, some Lucas, and a Mike Trout that you see maybe behind me. And that's got a whole other story, the Mike Trout. That's got I'll tell you that story one day. But so as I normally do, I put a minimum grade on the entire submission of a PSA 9, which at the time seemed fine because if it came back an 8 or lower, right then they were going for what a raw card was going for, and didn't, it was over a year ago, and hindsight being 2020, I probably should have, marked it down to a 7 or an 8, but I didn't have hindsight, and it's just funny how things would eventually work out. So PSA got that submission on May 15th, 2020, on an economy, $20 grade. It got shipped back to me on June 11th. Those were the days, right? They get it in one, and less than a month later on economy, it's coming back. Those days are long gone, my friends. So I get back to submission, and to my dismay, it came back minimum grade, came back in the card saver where it didn't hit that 9, and I was bummed, and I was monitoring the prices again, and the price of the card was starting to move up, and I'm talking like not just move up, but like a rocket ship. This card was moving up, and I didn't really understand it that much. I actually reached out. I messaged Chris from House of Jordans, and he was, he seemed to have the same opinion where, it's not that rare, but for whatever reason, it was starting to move up, and it's terrific. So I submitted it again with another economy submission, and this time no minimum grade. It is what it is, right? So I got the PSA on August 14th, 2020. got entered about a month later, 4 weeks, which still wasn't bad considering how they're like, well, before they shut down, like 12 weeks behind, right? And while it was a PSA, I'm watching this card go up and up and up, and I'm like, wow, what is going on here? So I'm thinking if this card comes back a 7, that would be fine. Because at the time, and now when I'm looking, the card, a 7 is going for about $1,400. I'm thinking if it hit an 8, that would be even greater because that was approaching $3,000. I saw a 10 not too long ago sold for I think 40 grand, but I wasn't going to get a 10. I wasn't even going to get a 9 or maybe an 8 or a 7 because it came back minimum grade. So I figure all in all, you know, I got $40 into the grade, two $20 economies, and $80 into the card, so $120 all in. So April 9th of this year, a couple weeks ago when you see this, 7 months later, as opposed to 1 month when it was submitted the first time, I get notified by PSA. You know, you get that thing, good news, your grades are in. I'm like, yay, okay, fine. So I was really like anxious to see. Like, I'm not one of these guys that come and do a blind reveal. I'll look at, I'll go and skim through them or whatever. So I looked at the card. I came back. And I was shocked. I was shocked because this card that came back with a minimum grade of a 9 before, and I'm figuring it's going to be a 7 or an 8, who knows what it is, didn't come back a 10. But it did come back a 9. And I was floored, absolutely floored that happened. So, what's the moral of the story? If you don't succeed, try again. I don't know. Why was it graded higher this time than last time? I mean, grading is subjective, and I'm just happy that it worked out that way. And this time it did work out, and I'm definitely not complaining. I'm actually super happy. I always read about people that resubmitted cards over and over again till they got the grade they want. I thought was crazy, and in most parts it is, because sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. You're into a card, whatever the grade may be, and you keep resubmitting it, and you're just putting the money in 20, 40, 60, 80, $100 or whatever it is, and it never comes back. So this was one of these things where it was just an anomaly. And the only reason why it was resubmitted was it because it came back a minimal grade, and I didn't care. I just wanted the card slapped because I really liked the card. So after talking to my son, Tyler, who you met on the other episodes, we're not going to get rid of this card. And maybe the card continues to go up in value. Maybe it doesn't. At this point, it really doesn't matter because it's such a cool looking card. And it's a card that, I think we want to keep for our PC. By the way, guys, I have some really cool things scheduled for the next couple episodes, so I'm excited about that. Excited about the support. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. Love the comments. Keep them coming. If you like the channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you don't like the channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe. And until next time, take care.